Today, I want to take a look at Dandadan to see if we can figure out how Yukinobu Tatsu moves from one genre to the next without ever taking the reader out of the story. We will talk a little bit about the story so far and the things that I noticed on my first read. And then we'll do a little drawing experiment to see if we can break down how the pages work so well and maybe learn something from it. I am D of Whimsy Lens, and this is a second read. I just finished rereading Volume 5 of Dandadan, and it's a crazy ride, but what I want to focus on today is how Tatsu can take a shonen, because Dandadan's mainly a shonen, a battle shonen at heart. I mean, of course, it's got paranormal elements or whatever, but how Tatsu can take the shonen and then add 3 or 4 pages of just straight horror to that, and then easily convert right back into shonen. So this is just like one example of this genre shifting that Tatsu does. Like in chapter 1, there is some parts where it's almost slice of life, but then it transfers into like a comedy. And then it transfers into a horror here. And then it transfers into more of an action scene. It's kind of a Tatsu regular thing. He's just so good at changing these genres so fluidly. And that's what I kind of want to get across today. And with my experiment, the drawing experiment, when I do that, that's what I'm going to be looking into. But I do want to kind of give you a background of the panels that I'll be working with today. So the panels that I'll work with today are going from shonen to horror to shonen. And it's the part in the manga, if you haven't read it, it might be small spoilers, but it's the part in the manga where Gigi and Momo are down in the pit, and basically Gigi's hearing this being in his head. For sake of brevity, it's the evil eye. And if you know anything about the evil eye, it's just crazy hell-bent on destroying humans, at least at first. And so he's hearing this evil eye, and he's kind of getting manipulated by it. I don't know if it's because Gigi is just a good person, or if the spirit is somehow twisting something in his brain and making him be such an empathetic person. But either way, he decides that he's going to run down and try to find the body of the evil eye. And when he gets to the door, all the way up, leading up to this, is battle shonen. There's a big-ass worm in this pit, like a sandworm that's trying to kill them. The sandworm takes over people's minds and makes them try to kill themselves. It's crazy. It's all battle shonen at this point, though. And basically, once he hits this door, that's where it just, everything slows down. And then I don't remember, he either kicks the door open or he pushes it open. Either way, once it opens, you see this panel, and it's just a wide shot of the body that the evil eye used to inhabit. And it's tied to this post, almost like a Salem witch trial. And it's bound to the post, it's burned, and it's just all alone in this room. It's a big room. It's all alone. And this almost breaks Gigi. It is very horrifying. And it's shown with the drawing. Once Gigi breaks down and he's trying to console this evil spirit. He's trying to tell it everything's going to be all right. Nobody ever wanted to play with you, but I'll play with you. I'll play with you forever. And that's when the evil eye takes him. The evil eye takes over his body, and everything shifts back to fucking full speed. It's going, it's going, it's going. Now the evil eye is in Gigi's body right here, like this. This is Gigi's body, but it's the evil eye. And he turns on Momo, and it's super crazy, more shonen action with high stakes because it's friends against friends now, and there's still a big ass worm. So anyways, let me stop gushing about this section. I kind of gave you the overarching plot. I gave you what we were going to talk about today, and I just want to kind of get into this experiment where I draw the panels and find out the differences between each genre and see how the transition works. So let's get into it. Okay, so I tried to redraw a couple pages from this section of the Evil Eye narrative, and I was trying to see if I could find something within the lines that conveyed the genre switch, or something profound, but nothing really came to me while I was drawing them. So yeah, I mean, I'm here to learn, so I'm also going to show my failures, but I'm going to speed it up. So yeah, here are the speed drawings of the things that I drew. I didn't really learn much while I was in there, so yeah, here they are just for fun. I guess enjoy the last few seconds of the speed draw, and then we'll get into the actual experiment. Okay, now that we saw my complete failure to come up with anything during those speed draws, now that that's over, let's go over some of these panels together so we can maybe actually figure what's going on in these panels out and how the genres are swapping a little bit better. I think just redrawing one page or 2 pages was not enough to convey the genre shift over. So on this first panel here, we can see that we've got a lot of space in the backgrounds. I think we're still, sitting in the shonen comedy / action genre here. You do get a little bit of the horror stuff in the face, and that's mostly just Tatsu's creature design, which is cool, but it's not a genre change, it's just creature design. Anyways, so we got those, we got speed lines here, and look how clean these lines are. They're very rigid, not super, not a lot of line variation, line weight, whatever you want to call it. You do get some over, again, on the creature design, because it is supposed to convey a horror creature. It's a little bit messier. It's still clean, because we're in our shonen section. I mean, there's no doubt about that. You got a couple loose lines there. We can feel that we're still in our shonen section. You can tell by that, like, distinct face styles. Even on this tiny Momo face, you can feel that comedy shonen thing going on. But one thing that interests me about this panel is that you have this spiral that kind of points to the bottom, and as you get further into the spiral, the more messy everything gets. So you got super clean lines through here, and it's very rigid architecture stuff. And then you get closer and the lines are getting closer to each other on these stairs. And then you get further down and you start getting a lot more screen tones, which is kind of given that effect of filling the space. And a lot of horror, not just manga, but horror genre is about putting that uncanniness by filling in space that doesn't necessarily need to be filled in. And then it's also a lot of just shading, of course. And then we get down all the way to the bottom down here in this area, and you can see these, it's like dirt and just darkness in here. It's almost like this spiral staircase is leading us down into the horror section, which is, in my opinion, I think works really well. If you guys don't think that that is like what is supposed to be conveyed here, then go ahead and let me know in the comments. But I think that's what it's kind of pointing to, what Tatsu is wanting to lead your eye towards. There's that panel, and then we go to the panel with the door, which I showed you the speed draw of the door. This again, you know, he's very clean. You know, clean lines here. Very rigid and clean. He even has a space like cut out around him. And that's showing to me that it's two different feelings overlapping in this picture. So you're getting him almost outlined by this glow, which is cutting him or silhouetting him away from this like super lined door back here. It almost feels like a creepy barn door. I think that's the subtle thing. You also get to see that he's running here. Like his foot's not even on the ground yet. He's about to stop. I think that's part of the pacing. It wants you to know that you just came from some action. And then down here, you get completely white backgrounds. It's separating him as he's huffing and puffing. So it's kind of isolating. It's that isolating feeling that horror genres, you know, are very good at producing. Which it could also be done in a shonen, or, you know, even an action or comedy, however you want to frame that style. It can be done, but then you have to look at the context clues of like his face is like this bloody mess here, and then he's got an exaggerated, almost like defeatedly exhausted mouth look. That, along with the blank background, is almost like that isolating feeling. And then down here, he's just, you know, he's desperate. He's desperately trying to rip these doors open here, and that's just it's not necessarily horror by any means, but it's just showing Gigi is desperate to get to the evil eye and to try to save him. These panels aren't really working on the horror, but they are leading up to it. So I think that's like the general vibe of this page. Of course, the X's, I guess I should mention those X's. I mean, that's like just blatant, don't come in this room, you know. And when something's blatantly telling you not to come in this room, there's probably something dangerous behind it. That could be, you know, some dangerous action-y, it could be something dangerous horror-y, however you want to look at it. Let's move on to the next page. Now this is where the real horror is, and the main thing that I noticed that really set the horror mood for me was this almost fisheye perspective, and I'll show you real quick. If you were to draw a straight line in all these corners, you know, you're just, that one curved, whatever. It's very normalized when you do that. But in here, I'm going to exaggerate with my red line, but in here you're getting these very, you know, curved lines, which makes the walls look uncanny and not exactly normal. which I think really develops the horror. And then, you get some pages on the wall that are, you don't know what they are. You get some shit in the corner that you don't know what it is. It could be trash, could be bushes. Again, on the floor you have these lines that are curving, which, as you know from being people who probably lived in houses, boards don't curve like that normally, so it's either dilapidated or is exaggerated. But, the real horror comes from the centerpiece right here, of course. This is the Evil Eye's bound and burned dead body. And just in this top panel alone, if you took away the bottom two panels, this is grotesque. Like, it's hard. Like, if you were in Gigi's shoes, it'd be something very hard to look at. I don't think it's like, oh, it's gonna jump out and get me scary. It's just like, on a human level, it's horrifying to see. And then, of course, you still got the super intense shading lines, which really helps sell the horror. And I also think, since he was burned, it kind of gives the burned charcoal look that you otherwise couldn't get with just black and white. And then, of course, you have this outline still surrounding Gigi. But his lines are still clean, He is, by all means, a shonen protagonist. He might not be the main character, but he is a shonen protagonist at heart. So his lines, even when he's like beat up and bruised, like there's just barely some scrapes hinted at. And of course, if you go down to this panel here, you get a lot of this white background again, which is kind of framing not only Momo but Gigi again. It's almost like they're stepping into someone else's world, which really they are. They're stepping into the Evil Eye's world, his little domain he's been trapped in for however fucking long it's been. And you get a little Turbo Granny wacky face, which is normal because it's Turbo Granny. But right next to him, you get to see the close-up. The close-up of this horrific figure. And the fact that it's still got like eyelids here, really, it's just creepy as hell. Like, I don't know. It's got eyelids and it's almost still got like lips after all this time. It's not just bones. It's like there's a little bit of like substance to it, which is creepy as hell. So not a lot of setup horror wise in here because it is the horror. So we've moved from shonen to horror, which I think is really paced well in these three panels. And then you're slowly going from that horror back into the shonen, where you get to see these panels like this one, which is still kind of horrifying, of this child that the Evil Eye used to be. And then you get really clean panels like this one, where you're seeing the shonen of Gigi. No background. You got really clean, really clean eye lines. You got super clean face profile. It's really a stark contrast compared to the panel right next to it, where the floor's dirty, the kid's dirty, his ribs are showing, it's so it's kind of blending the straight horror that we got in the last panel, and then taking some of that and mixing it in with panels that are straight shonen. I think it's partly to help with the swap of genres, but I also think it's to compare and contrast what the Evil Eye is in comparison to Gigi. I won't go over every single panel here because it's kind of more of the same. You know, you got horrifying, and then you got shonen, and then you got really shonen right here. But I think it's the setup going back into what we know Dandadan to be, is the comedy shonen. Now, on this panel, it's a little bit more of the same. It's just bigger looks at it. And let's be real, I mean, Tatsu probably didn't sit down and think, oh, how do I blend this horror with the shonen that I'm making? He probably just naturally took his idea of the evil eye, made it a habitat, and then placed Gigi into it. But it's really working to blend the two genres together. And I can't remember in the anime if it was quite as horrifying to see the body and stuff, or to see the evil eye as a kid. But it really works wonders here in the manga to me. Again, let me know if you guys feel the same way down in the comments. And let's look at another panel. Okay, this is where it's straight back into full-on shonen vibes. I mean, do I even have to point anything out here? It looks like it could have been straight out of like Naruto or Dragon Ball, the way it's drawn. It's crazy clean. Even like, I mean, these are just speed lines. These aren't even like messy lines. They're speed lines. They're showing him throwing his hands up. And then you have the speed lines out here. They're even more spread apart. But then if you look at his face here, you get some more of that horror. It's very subtle. They're almost getting rid of it. But those lines, very still based on the horror. And this is to show, without, I mean, look, these words, nothing really says, oh, you're getting taken over by the evil eye. It's these eyes. It's the horror taking over Gigi's body. And that's what's happening here. The evil eye is taking over his body. And then I just wanted to show you guys what the evil eye looked like, because it's so badass the way that Tatsu made this panel. Dandadan, it sits in a genre that I can only describe as goofy. Goofy and heartfelt. And this is like an exemplary example of that. This action pose, look how fucking wonky this is. This is like some JoJo's Bizarre Adventure kind of pose. Now I'm just really gushing about about the art style. It's really fucking cool. Now, one thing I just noticed is that there's this like almost a waveform under his feet. It looks cool as hell. If you guys have any idea of what that is, or what it's supposed to like represent in the evil eye scene, yeah, feel free to let me know in the comments. Anyways, I think that's it. I will probably call it there. So did we learn anything today? I think we did. It wasn't quite as much as I was expecting to learn from it. I thought maybe there was some sort of grand idea that Tatsu uses, and maybe there is, and I just didn't find it. But basically all I learned that was beyond what I had already thought of in the beginning is that it really comes down to the basics of storytelling. You take one page of this genre. On the next page, if you want to switch genres there, you take a couple panels of each genre and mix them together. And then, whenever you're ready, you can throw your next genre in. So this time it was horror. And it's really that simple. And then to reverse it, you just do the opposite. So like Tatsu, he took the panel of them running down. It's shonen, it's action. They're running. And then you get the page where he comes to the door, where it looks a little dilapidated and a little hint of horror. And you have Gigi, who looks very shonen still. And then you get a big horror page right after. It's really that simple. Maybe I'm missing something. If you guys notice any things that I don't about this genre shift, and it's something that you think I missed or that I could learn from, please let me know in the comments. But yeah, as far as I can tell, that's it. There's nothing grand, which is okay. That's the beauty of learning. It's not always something grand. Sometimes you just reinforce what you know. That's pretty cool. Anyways, that's all for me, and I'll see you next video.